Ladies and gentlemen, we are witnessing a critical breaking moment in professional sports history. The Women's National Basketball Association stands on the brink of complete collapse as players threaten to strike and cancel the entire upcoming season. This is happening right now, at the exact moment when the league finally achieved mainstream relevance thanks to superstar Caitlin Clark. Napheesa Collier, co-founder of the rival Unrivaled League and vice president of the Players Union Committee, has publicly declared that players are prepared to sit out if their demands are not met. The core dispute centers on gross revenue sharing, a financial model the league owners are flatly refusing to accept. What makes this crisis unprecedented is the timing. After 28 years of never turning a profit, after existing on life support funded entirely by the National Basketball Association, the WNBA finally has mainstream attention, a lucrative new media rights deal, and genuine fan interest.
CBA hitting crunch time. Time is running out. Adam Silver talks about the 11th hour. But I'm just wondering what conversations you've had with maybe that middle tier of player in terms of moving forward, and if there is a deal to be done or if you do need to end up striking.
Well, for the past, I would say, year and a half, the executive committee has been urging everyone to save their money because we knew the negotiations were coming up. We never know what's going to happen. If there's not a season, we want to make sure everyone's prepared. So hopefully everyone has been doing that. That's something we've been talking about for a really long time. But also that is something that we check in with everyone, because opinions change over time. And that is something that has stayed consistent, that people, no matter, middle tier, the people at the top, rookies, everyone has been really consistent in that we want a season to happen. But if we don't get the things that we are wanting to stay 10 toes down on, then we're going to sit out for as long as that takes. That's not what anyone wants, but it's what we're willing to do in order to get the things that we feel are fair.
How do you feel about where things stand right now?
I think that things are moving. We are not where we want to be, but I think negotiations are trending in the right direction. And that's what you want. You want movement. You don't want to be in a stalemate. You want there to be hope for the future. And I do have that. I think there has to be a lot of movement in in a lot of places in the CBA. But the fact that we are moving, I think, is really hopeful.
You are teaming up with Icy Hot. You have a very special community event taking place in Miami, the home of Unrivaled. So tell us a little bit about that and what you're up to with them.
Yeah, we're really excited to partner with Icy Hot, the Tucolsi Center we call them comeback courts. And it's just a way to give back to the community. We're here in Miami. We want to be a part of the community here as well. The Tucolsi Center has been a part of this community for a really long time. And so to be able to partner and bring these beautiful courts, we're really excited to have that here today. And, this is something that we hope that the kids in this community will grow with in the future. And it'll just add to this place and hopefully help them grow as players and as people.
And the players are prepared to destroy it all. The stakes could not be higher for professional women's basketball in America. This league has survived nearly 3 decades without ever making money. Not once, not a single profitable season in its entire existence. The numbers for the most recent season have not been released, which many analysts find suspicious. Typically, when a business achieves profitability for the first time in its history, those numbers are celebrated and announced immediately. The silence suggests the league still operates in the red, still depends on subsidies, still functions as what some have called a welfare basketball operation kept alive only through the generosity of ownership groups and the backing of the men's league. But this season was supposed to be different. This season carried real hope. The new media rights agreement that just took effect represents a massive increase in television revenue. Sponsorship deals have multiplied. Merchandise sales have climbed. Attendance figures have risen in several markets. The foundation was finally being laid for actual financial sustainability. And now the players want to walk away from it. Napheesa Collier appeared in a recent interview using language that stunned business analysts and sports commentators alike. When asked about the possibility of striking, she stated the players are 10 toes down. 10 toes down. This is the terminology being used in negotiations that will determine whether hundreds of jobs continue to exist. This is the professional language being deployed in discussions about a multi-million-dollar business operation. The phrase reflects a broader attitude problem that has plagued the league's public perception for 2 years now. Fans have watched as many players displayed what can only be described as hostility toward the very star who brought them mainstream attention. Caitlin Clark entered the league as the most marketable women's basketball player in history. Her college games drew television audiences that rivaled professional playoff games. Her presence created genuine cultural momentum. And instead of embracing that momentum, instead of riding that wave to financial security, a significant portion of the league treated her with resentment, physical aggression on the court, and dismissive attitudes in interviews. The fan response has been unmistakable. Comment sections across social media platforms that cover the WNBA tell a consistent story. The audience is gone. The goodwill has evaporated. People who were genuinely excited about women's professional basketball 12 months ago now actively hope the league shuts down. This represents a catastrophic failure in public relations and brand management. The players had everything they claimed to want. They had visibility. They had media coverage. They had growing attendance. They had corporate sponsors competing for partnerships. They had a genuine superstar whose popularity transcended the sport itself. And they systematically alienated the audience that came with her. Now they are threatening to eliminate the season entirely unless ownership agrees to a gross revenue-sharing model. This is the hill they have chosen to die on. Gross revenue sharing. Not net revenue, not profit sharing, gross revenue, which means the players would receive a percentage of all money that comes into the league before any expenses are paid. To understand why ownership is refusing this demand, you have to understand the financial realities of the WNBA. This league loses money. It has always lost money. The only reason it continues to exist is because the NBA subsidizes it. Every year, the men's league transfers millions of dollars to keep the women's league operational. Every year, team owners absorb losses because they believe in the long-term potential of women's basketball, or because they see it as a social responsibility, or because they value the community impact. But those owners are business people. They understand financial statements. They understand that agreeing to gross revenue sharing when the league does not generate profit is economic suicide. It would lock them into paying out money they do not have. It would guarantee continued losses with no path to profitability. It would make the entire operation unsustainable. The owners are now facing a choice: accept a deal that ensures permanent financial failure, or shut down the league and stop the bleeding. Several teams have actually achieved profitability or come very close. Markets with strong attendance and engaged fan bases have demonstrated that the business model can work under the right conditions. But many teams still struggle to fill arenas that seat only 4,500 people. Even with major stars, even with national media coverage, even with heavily promoted games, half the league plays in front of partially empty venues. Angel Reese in Chicago does not sell out every game. Paige Bueckers in Dallas does not sell out every game. These are supposed to be two of the biggest draws in the entire league, and they cannot consistently fill small arenas. This is the reality the players seem unwilling to acknowledge. They are demanding compensation structures appropriate for a league with consistent profitability and sustainable revenue growth. But they play in a league that has never achieved either of those things. The timing of this labor dispute makes it even more destructive. The new media rights deal that just went into effect represents the biggest financial opportunity in league history. Major networks have committed to broadcasting more games with better time slots and more promotional support. Streaming platforms have agreed to carry games and produce supplemental content. This deal was supposed to be the turning point, the moment when the WNBA finally transitioned from charity case to viable business. But media contracts include clauses. They include performance requirements and content delivery guarantees. If there is no season, if games are not played, those contracts can be renegotiated or potentially canceled. The league could lose the very deal that represents its best chance at financial independence. And it would be nearly impossible to negotiate another deal of similar value after demonstrating such instability. The player union appears to believe they have leverage in this situation. They appear to believe that the league cannot function without them, that ownership will cave to their demands rather than lose the season. But that calculation may be fundamentally flawed. The league has existed for 28 years without making money. The owners have absorbed losses for 28 years. At a certain point, the question becomes whether continuing to absorb those losses makes any sense. If the players are unwilling to accept a deal that gives the business a chance to become profitable, why would ownership continue funding it? The answer might be that they would not. The answer might be that this is the moment ownership decides to cut their losses and move on. There has been speculation about whether the league could use replacement players during a strike. The logistics would be complicated. The teams still hold draft rights to rookies, but the collective bargaining agreement likely prevents those rookies from playing during a labor dispute. Any replacement players would need to come from outside the current pool of drafted and signed athletes. But here is what makes that scenario fascinating. If the league did proceed with replacement players, with athletes who were simply grateful for the opportunity to play professional basketball, who showed up with positive attitudes and genuine appreciation for the platform they were being given, what would the ratings look like? Would fans respond positively to players who seemed happy to be there? Would the absence of the drama and negativity that has characterized the league for 2 years actually improve the product? It is a legitimate question. The attitude problem within the WNBA has become impossible to ignore. A significant portion of the fan base has stated explicitly that they do not want to support athletes who come across as entitled, ungrateful, and hostile. Napheesa Collier has become a perfect example of this phenomenon. Her social media presence and public statements have alienated more fans than they have attracted. She represents a broader pattern of players who seem more interested in making political statements and picking fights than in building a sustainable professional league. Fans do not have to support a league. Entertainment is optional. Sports are optional. If the product being offered is accompanied by constant negativity and public dysfunction, people will simply choose to spend their time and money elsewhere. Napheesa Collier stated in her interview that things are moving forward in negotiations, but the fundamental problem remains. As long as the players refuse to back off the gross revenue-sharing demand, there will be no season. The owners will not agree to it. They cannot agree to it. It would be financial malpractice to agree to it. The players seem to believe this is their moment, their chance to secure a historic deal that transforms compensation in women's professional sports. But the owners are thinking the exact same thing. This is their moment. This is their chance to finally see a return on 3 decades of investment. This is their opportunity to either build a profitable business or end an experiment that has failed financially for its entire existence. The choice now rests with the players. They can accept a deal that gives the league a legitimate chance at profitability, that allows the business to grow sustainably, that secures their jobs and creates opportunities for future generations of women basketball players. Or they can hold firm on demands that ownership will never accept, force a canceled season, destroy the momentum that Caitlin Clark created, lose the new media deal, alienate what remains of the fan base, and potentially end the league permanently. Those are the options. There is no middle ground here. There is no compromise position that satisfies both sides. Either the players accept financial reality or the league ceases to exist. If the season is lost, even Caitlin Clark may not be able to resurrect this league. Her star power is immense, but it is not infinite. Fans have limits to their patience. The general public will not continue paying attention to a league that cannot get its act together, that cannot put games on the floor, that appears to be run by people with no business sense and no appreciation for the opportunity they have been given. The WNBA was on life support before Caitlin Clark arrived. Viewership was negligible, media coverage was minimal, the cultural impact was nearly zero. She changed all of that single-handedly through her talent and marketability, and the league has spent 2 years trying to destroy the golden goose she represented. If they succeed in killing this season, they may never get another chance.